How good are you at deciding how long a project will take? Apparently, I'm terrible at it. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I have got finishes to show you. I am so excited about these. I have been working on Morning Lake since Mania of 2019. This project was hard. It challenged me. It made me crazy. I love it, and I am glad it is done. And I think I showed you this when I first started it, but one of the reasons I love this so much, other than spooky cabins or spooky and wonderful, is I think it ties in really well with this painting that my great-grandmother did back in 1905. She was 17 years old, possibly living in her sod house with her husband and maybe her first child. I'm not sure, but she was young. And I know she married young. Like I can talk, I got married when I was 19, but I love these two pieces together. I'm going to try to find a similar black frame so I can display them together. And I love Dimensions, that's no secret. I love landscapes. Just everything about this makes my heart go pity pat. I had hoped to use this as my focus project for March and maybe finish it, and there were times I thought I would get it done and times I didn't think I would get it done, and I really overestimated how long the back stitching would take. The back stitching was challenging, but once I switched to a sharp needle and decided I really didn't need to match the pattern as long as I was outlining the right things in sort of the right places, it got a lot easier after that. I'm giddy. The reason I didn't think that I would get Morning Lake done in March is because I was having so much fun with Riolis breakfast. Again, I thought the back stitching on this would take forever, but it didn't take long at all. There are little French knots there. They are messy little French knots. They exist, we'll say that. I may get better at French knots and then rip them out and replace them later. I did a video a while back about an embroidery book that had a sunflower. The entire center was made up with French knots. Thinking I may need a project like that just to force myself to learn how to do these things. And I suppose I also need to tell you, this is the only Riolis kit out of all the ones I finished where I ran out of thread. The dark brown that is used to outline a lot of the back stitching, I finished with half an inch to spare, and I needed more of it to do the little French knots for the pepper shaker. I used the gray thread that also came in the pattern. That was a fine substitute. I save all of my leftovers from my other kits, so I could have made do with something else if it had come to that. It's got to be hard to come up with an idea of how much thread you need for this type of back stitching. It's not something I would want to estimate, and I was being frugal, I was being careful, but it just wasn't quite enough. And I was able to finish my little flakes of pepper, so I'm happy. I need a new focus project. Something I think I can finish in April, except plans for April have changed in a good way. It just means I might not have as much stitching time as I had anticipated. So I'm torn between two projects. First one is Beach Babies. I have got, so after this last grid line, 9 more stitches. It is all full coverage over there with all this beach grass. The end is in sight. All of the little girl is done. I thought that was a bucket, but I think it's actually a hat. So once she is done, there is nothing left but grass and fence and back stitching a ridiculous ton of beach grass. This beach grass, I would say it's going to be the death of me, but I need to take a lesson from Morning Lake and realize that my fronds of grass do not have to be precisely placed. I need to create the effect of blades of beach grass. I could quite happily stitch away on Beach Babies until I'm done. Except then there's Cuckoo Clock. I started stitching this decorative scroll work under the clock, and then below that are the chains and the weights. This is going so much faster than I thought it would. I've got stuff to fill in up here. I could finish one or the other of these in April, almost definitely, if I picked one and committed to working on it. But which would you pick? Let me know which you would pick. I think the most sensible thing is to work on both of them and say between the two of them, April and May. And I may finish them, I may not, it doesn't matter. I will finish them, it just, whether I do it in April or May does not matter. I showed you the shawl last time. It was all scrunched up on my needles, and now it is done except for weaving in the ends. I cannot remember the name of this yarn. It's like Raspberry Swirl or something like that. I'll put it in the comments. Not my favorite yarn, but it was fun. I'm stitching these shawls while I'm watching movies with the boys, and they're all getting donated to the quilt group to pass along to wherever they need to go. And as soon as I was done with that one, I started this one. And I am halfway through a row, so this one's really scrunched up on my needles. It is Red Heart Ombre. This stuff is pretty. Look at the shading. And I have been fortunate that so far, Red Heart Super Saver Ombre, there has not been a single knot in this skein to distort the color progression. This stuff makes me nervous because the way it shades one into the other, I am not capable, motivated, whatever it would take to try to make those colors continue to so flow seamlessly. I don't think I'm going to do it. So all is well so far. We will hope that it continues to go well. And I guess if there's a knot at this point, I could put in a contrast stripe of some other coordinating yarn and maybe make it look like a design element that I did on purpose or something. I'm reading a lot. My friend Joanna Campbell-Sland sent me copies of her Friday Night Mystery Club series. I have for years read her Kiki Lowenstein Cozy Mysteries and her Caramia Delgado Cozy Mysteries. Somehow over the past couple of years, I managed to miss these. I'm about halfway through the first book, which the name of it is Friday Night Mystery Club. And that's also the name of the series. It's set in 1986, and our protagonist works selling advertising for a small local newspaper. Her best friend's body is found dead in a park under very suspicious circumstances that are dismissed by the local authorities, so she's trying to find out what he was investigating that led to his death. The mystery is intriguing. What I really love is it's like stepping back into another time. She drives an RX-7. I think my husband had one briefly when we were first married after his Dodge Charger had an unfortunate head-on collision with a tree because another driver ran a stop sign. So I can picture this car. She's doing a lot of driving on icy roads, which we've had so much ice lately on our roads. It's fun to spend some time reading about another time and place, and I could just get myself totally immersed in these. I'm going to read all three of them one after the other, and they will get their own video before too long. I think I'm going to work more on Beach Babies and Cuckoo Clock, and maybe start Riolis Dinner, the third and last of the kitchen pieces in that set of patterns. And I might start something totally different because I could justify doing that after all these finishes. And like I said, I might start an embroidery project with lots and lots of French knots because I need a project I can take with me places. That might not be a bad idea. If you have done a project with 20 bajillion French knots, give me tips. Part of my problem might be that I'm left-handed and I'm watching directions for right-handed people, and I'm not quite ambidextrous enough to make this work. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. I'll be back with you with more videos soon.